I know multi-millionaires who are total slaves, and I know guys making 60 grand a year who live like absolute kings. The difference is not the number printed on their bank statements. The difference is the number of invisible leashes wrapped around their necks. We were sold the greatest lie in modern history. We were told that freedom means driving a $200,000 supercar, wearing a diamond-encrusted watch, and flying private across the country. So take a hard look at the guy living that life. Look past the Instagram photo. Look past the rented jet. Guy number one drives the foreign car and wears the gold watch. But his phone is vibrating against his leg every 9 seconds. His nervous system is completely fried. His blood pressure is through the roof. He is staring at glowing red charts while his wife sits across from him in silence. He cannot even look his own child in the eyes without instinctively sliding his hand into his pocket to check an email, a stock tick, or a direct message from someone he hates. His mind is running on sheer cortisol and panic. He looks like a champion on social media, but inside his own skull, he is a prisoner awaiting execution. That man is not wealthy. He is not free. He is just wearing 6-figure handcuffs. Now look at guy number two. He wears a plain black shirt that costs $10. He walks down a quiet street or sits on a back porch near the trees. He has no smartwatch tracking his pulse. Nobody has his private phone number except 3 people he would take a bullet for. He wakes up when his eyes open, not because an alarm is screaming at him. He puts in 3 hours of focused, deep work on something he actually owns, and he spends the rest of his day in total, uninterrupted silence. No notifications, no Slack alerts, no algorithm demanding his attention, no middle manager breathing down his neck, no corporation tracking his physical location. Ask yourself the only question that matters. Who is the real boss? Who is actually rich? The most dangerous scam ever pulled on the human mind is making you believe that success is being able to afford gold paint on the bars of your birdcage. If you jump every time your pocket vibrates, if you check your metrics before your feet even touch the floor in the morning, you do not own a lifestyle. The machine owns you. Most people walk around believing they use technology as a helpful tool. They are blind to the reality right in front of their faces. You do not use the tool. The tool uses you. It feeds on you. It mines you. And it happens across 5 brutal levels of control that most people never see until it is too late. Level 1 is the total destruction of your attention. Think about the first 60 seconds of your day. You open your eyes. You are still half asleep. Before you stretch, before you say a prayer, before you kiss the person sleeping next to you, your hand reaches out across the mattress like a junkie looking for a fix. You grab the cold glass rectangle. You stare into the light. That is not a morning routine. That is clinical conditioning. Tech companies used to mine coal, iron, and oil out of the dirt. Today, they mine your brainstem. Every single time you unlock your screen, you are walking directly onto the floor of a casino built by the most ruthless behavioral psychologists on earth. Their single metric of success is making sure you do not look away. Look at how you consume content. Swipe up, swipe up, swipe up. It is the exact mechanical movement of an old lady pulling the arm of a slot machine in Las Vegas. You are waiting for the random reward. A shock, a laugh, an outrage, a flash of skin, a notification, a hit of dopamine. You sit down on your couch intending to look at one thing for 30 seconds, and suddenly 45 minutes of your finite mortal life have vanished into thin air. You cannot sit at a red light for 20 seconds without reaching for the glass. You cannot stand in line at the grocery store without pulling out your pacifier. You cannot take a dump in peace without an algorithm force feeding you garbage. When silence feels like physical agony, your brain has been hijacked. You did not decide to watch those videos today. You did not choose your thoughts today. The machine chose them for you. Level 2 is the death of ownership. Remember what the world looked like 20 years ago. When you bought a house, you were handed a physical deed. When you bought an album, you held the vinyl or the CD in your hands. When you bought a movie or a book, you placed it on a wooden shelf in your living room. It was yours. You owned the physical atoms. Nobody could walk into your home in the middle of the night and take it from you without a fight. That entire world was systematically dismantled while everyone was busy staring at their screens. Today, you own absolutely nothing. You rent your music on a monthly stream. You rent your movies from a digital library that can revoke your license whenever a contract expires. You rent the software you need to do your daily job. You pay a recurring tax to store your own family photographs on a server farm owned by a mega corporation. Car companies are already installing software that locks the heated seats and the horsepower behind a monthly paywall. You bought the metal. You bought the engine. You bought the leather, but you have to pay a corporation $20 a month just for the digital permission to turn the heat on in the winter. Think about what happens when your credit card expires. Think about what happens if you cannot pay the monthly fee. Your files vanish, your professional tools shut down, your memories get locked behind an encryption wall. You are no longer an owner of property. You are a digital serf, working all day just to generate enough cash to pay rent to corporate landlords who own the digital air you breathe. Level 3 is the spy in your pocket. You think tech surveillance is just about showing you an ad for sneakers after you talked about running? That is preschool level thinking. Your devices are running round-the-clock behavioral diagnostics on your entire existence. They track how fast your thumb moves across the glass. They track the microsecond pauses you make over certain headlines. They track the tone of your voice when you speak into the microphone. They know when you are lonely. They know when your self-esteem is dropping. They know you are falling into a clinical depression weeks before you even admit it to your own family. Why do they want that information? Because an insecure human being is the most profitable creature on the planet. A secure, grounded, sovereign human being does not spend money they do not have on things they do not need to impress people they do not like. But a lonely person buys things to fill the void. A terrified person stays glued to the newsfeed for hours. An angry person clicks every link and fights with strangers in the comments. They study your psychological pressure points so they can manipulate your behavior in real time. They push you into outrage so you will stay on the app. They push you into insecurity so you will buy their products. They manipulate your emotions until you are nothing more than a lab rat pressing a button for sugar water. You think your political beliefs, your consumer tastes, and your personal opinions belong to you? They do not. They were delivered to your retina on a precise schedule calculated by an algorithm that knows your weaknesses better than you do. Level 4 is the digital panopticon and the kill switch. This is the point where the trap closes and locks from the outside. Every single aspect of your modern life is being forced into a single centralized digital choke point. Your banking credentials, your credit score, your medical records, your employment history, your facial recognition profile, your digital identity, all of it sits inside centralized databases controlled by a handful of corporate entities and bureaucratic agencies. When everything is digital and centralized, the system gains the power of the absolute kill switch. We are not talking about some distant science fiction movie. We are watching it happen in broad daylight right now. Central banks around the globe are actively building programmable digital money. Money that can be programmed to expire if you do not spend it by a certain date. Money that can be blocked from buying meat, fuel, or airline tickets if your carbon tracking score is too high. We have already seen governments freeze the bank accounts of peaceful citizens simply because they donated to a protest the regime did not like. We have seen people get deplatformed, debanked, and completely erased from the digital economy because they expressed an opinion that violated the terms of service. When your money only exists as a balance on a centralized corporate ledger, you do not have money. You have a conditional permission slip. And that permission slip can be cancelled the moment you refuse to bend the knee to the prevailing narrative. You are allowed to participate in society only as long as you remain completely compliant, totally quiet, and perfectly obedient. Which brings us to level 5. Level 5 is the exit door. Level 5 is where you go ghost. The smartest and most dangerous individuals on this planet are not trying to get more followers. They are not trying to win an argument on the internet. They are not flexing their lives on an Instagram story. They are making themselves completely invisible to the machine. They understand the fundamental rule of modern survival. You do not defeat a multi-trillion-dollar surveillance system by arguing with it. You defeat it by removing your energy from it entirely. You starve it. Going ghost means you systematically cut every leash the system uses to pull you around. You start at level 1 by taking your attention back with extreme prejudice. You purge the dopamine traps. You delete the short-form video apps that turn your brain into mush. You turn off every notification on your device except direct calls from real human beings. You reclaim your morning. You force yourself to sit in silence until your mind calms down and your focus returns like a weapon. You handle level 2 by taking back real ownership. You stop trusting the cloud with your life. You buy physical hard drives that you hold in your hands. You store your own data locally. You buy physical books that cannot be altered by a software update. You buy physical assets that do not require an internet connection or a monthly subscription to function. You dismantle level 3 by refusing to feed the spy. You run open source, de-Googled operating systems. You use end-to-end encrypted communication tools. You keep your private life off the public internet. You stop giving away your location, your biometric data, and your psychological vulnerabilities to corporate data brokers for the cheap price of temporary convenience. And you shatter level 4 by building sovereign money. You pull your wealth out of the fragile centralized banking trap. You hold physical cash. You accumulate real tangible assets, and you learn how to use decentralized private digital networks that operate outside the control of corrupt central banks. You position yourself so that no bureaucrat in an office thousands of miles away can press a button and freeze your ability to feed your family. True wealth in the 21st century is not about being famous. It is not about being seen. It is not about flexing. True wealth is being completely sovereign. It is waking up with no alarm, answering to no master, having zero debt, holding your own property in your own hands, and having the absolute freedom to move, speak, and live without asking for anyone's permission. You are not going to find that freedom by scrolling on a screen at 2 o'clock in the morning. The apps were engineered from the ground up to keep you exhausted, insecure, distracted, and broke. The entire architecture of the modern internet is designed to keep you asleep in the pen. The world is only going to get louder, faster, more centralized, and more tyrannical from this day forward. The vast majority of the population will happily walk into the digital prison because the bars are shiny and the Wi-Fi is fast. They will trade their sovereignty for convenience every single day of the week. You do not have to be one of them. The exit door has been sitting wide open the entire time. You do not need to ask for permission to walk through it. You just have to decide that your life, your attention, and your soul are worth more than cheap dopamine on a piece of glass. Put the phone face down. disconnect the leash, walk out of the cage, and let the machine wonder where you went.